my pet zombie evolves into a stunning warrior. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 46. You know, it is the most powerful shadow wolf among all the tribesmen, it is the sky. No matter what decision it makes, no matter what it does, no shadow wolf dares to resist. Therefore, it can be so unscrupulous. However, the shadow wolf leader seems to overestimate his own strength. You know, it is only a first-order level 7 monster. Even if Shueyo does not use any skills, it is a first-order level 9. Moreover, Shueyo is a very powerful spirit pet even among the same level. How could the shadow wolf leader be an opponent? Facing the sprinting shadow wolf leader, a blood light flashed in Shueyo's pale eyes. Then, Shueyo instantly turned into a blood light, and the speed was so fast that the shadow wolf leader was shocked. Zizizizi. The 4 soles of the feet rubbed the ground vigorously, and the sharp nails scratched marks on the ground. Sparks flew, and the shadow wolf leader stopped with lingering fear. However, its eyes, which could see everything in the dark, did not find the trace of Shueyo. Just now, there was only a flash of blood, and the shadow wolf leader had no idea what happened. While the shadow wolf leader was nervous, Shueyo finally appeared. Shueyo, who was supposed to be at the entrance of the cave, appeared above the head of the shadow wolf leader. At the same time, Shueyo aimed at the eyes of the shadow wolf leader. With her sharp fingers, she stabbed down fiercely, instantly piercing the eyes of the shadow wolf leader. Ah! The shadow wolf leader felt a flash of blood in front of his eyes, and then he could not see anything with his eyes. Soon, a burst of intense pain was transmitted to the brain, causing the shadow wolf leader to roar angrily. He shook his head vigorously, trying to throw Shueyo out. It was too late, its eyes were blind now. The eyes that could see the night as day were now completely useless. Even if it could survive, it would fall from the position of leader. This was true for both animals and monsters. The fittest survive. The strong rule the weak, and once the strong are no longer strong, they will lose their dominance. The rocks trembled in the painful roar of the shadow wolf leader. It can be seen how painful the shadow wolf leader is now. At this moment, the shadow wolves that were previously scratched by Shueyo. Suddenly, something changed. It seemed that the cold environment at this moment caused the corpse chi in these shadow wolves to accelerate. The shadow wolves, whose eyes were originally green, turned into a crazy blood red. Not only that, these mutated shadow wolves made low sounds one by one. A large amount of saliva dripped onto the ground along their sharp teeth. Ah! These shadow demon wolves affected by the corpse chi opened their bloody mouths towards their companions. They bit their companions fiercely. Ah! The defenseless shadow demon wolves were attacked by the suddenly mad shadow demon wolves, and they wailed one by one and fell to the ground. They never thought that their companions would suddenly attack them. This was completely unexpected. One after another, the originally intact shadow demon wolves fell to the ground due to the sudden attack. A large amount of blood flowed out from the wounds on their bodies. And those mad shadow demon wolves had no intention of stopping at all. They bit the flesh and blood of their former companions one by one. At this time, the shadow demon wolf leader, who was blind, could only hear the screams and wailing of his men. Apart from that, he could not hear anything else. Shueyo stood quietly in front of the shadow wolf leader, watching it with interest. It seemed that he was a little curious about what the shadow wolf leader, who had lost his eyes, would do next. He didn't care about that much, and the shadow wolf leader waved his powerful forelimbs and attacked aimlessly. It could only rely on its sensitive sense of smell and keen hearing to roughly guess Shueyo's position. Facing such a messy attack, Shueyo easily dodged one blow after another. Blood flowed down his eyes and flowed to the tip of his nose, affecting the shadow wolf leader's sense of smell. Originally, this should have been a perfect hunting operation. But he never expected that he would encounter such a powerful enemy. From the hunter at the beginning to the prey now. The sudden change of identity made the shadow wolf leader very uncomfortable. Then after dodging the attack of the shadow wolf leader, Shueyo kicked his legs hard and flew into the air. He turned 360 degrees in the air and kicked the shadow wolf leader hard on the head. Ah! The shadow wolf leader roared in pain. The huge body flew up in an instant under the huge force. Boom! It hit the mountain wall hard, making a loud noise. Episode 47. The broken stones on the mountain wall flew and the dust was flying. However, it was a dark night and nothing could be seen clearly. Even if there was dust flying, it would not affect anything. At the beginning, the shadow wolf leader was so high-spirited. He thought Yi Ling was just food in his mouth. Unexpectedly, he was in such a miserable state now. The shadow wolf leader fell on the mountain wall and slid down to the ground with a lot of broken stones. Hoo-hoo! A very heavy panting sound was heard. The embarrassed shadow wolf leader lay on the ground with his abdomen constantly rising and falling. Ah. Ah. At this time, the only ones who could still stand were the shadow wolves infected by the corpse gas. As for the shadow wolves infected by the corpse gas, almost all of them had been bitten to death. A lot of blood flowed on the ground, along the mountain, and flowed down. Bang! Bang! Then, the infected shadow wolves fell to the ground one after another. They began to twitch all over, as if their bodies had reached their limit. After twitching for a while, the shadow wolves also stopped moving. At first, the corpse chi would make them unable to distinguish between friend and foe, and attack all targets around them except Shueyo. Later, the corpse chi attacked their hearts, and they died of poison. Although it was not clear as the current situation, Yi Ling could roughly feel it. Spiritual vision. In order to see the specific situation clearly, Yi Ling unfolded his spiritual vision. After unfolding the spiritual vision, he could see clearly even in the dark. However, compared with the first consumption of other spiritual skills, after the spiritual vision is opened, it needs to be maintained, which requires spiritual power every moment. Generally speaking, spiritual vision is not used. It can only be used when the eyes cannot see in a very bad environment. When the spiritual vision is turned on, Yi Ling only feels the spiritual power in his body slowly flowing to his eyes. Slowly opening his eyes, Yi Ling's eyes are covered with a layer of light blue light. This is the color of spiritual power. At the same time, the dark environment that was originally hard for Yi Ling to see clearly. Now it is completely in front of Yi Ling. Many corpses of shadow demon wolves are lying quietly outside the cave, and there is a lot of blood on the ground. At the same time, the huge shadow demon wolf leader is also lying on the side and lingering. Seeing so much blood on the ground, Yi Ling only feels a headache. For many monsters, the smell of blood will attract them. Now that so many shadow demon wolves have died here, so much blood will definitely attract more monsters. If he doesn't want to be surrounded by more monsters, Yi Ling needs to leave here as soon as possible and find a suitable place again. This problem alone is enough to give Yi Ling a headache. However, now that things have come to this, what can Yi Ling do? By the way, this big guy is not dead yet, so help it, Shueyo, kill it. Just when Yi Ling felt a headache, he suddenly remembered that the big guy, the shadow wolf leader, was still there. This big guy has much more experience than other shadow wolves. The most important thing is that the shadow wolf leader may have the heart of darkness. The higher the level of the monster, the more materials it has, and it is more likely to have rare materials. After receiving the order, Shueyo came to the shadow wolf leader. Looking at the shadow wolf leader who was breathing in more than out, Shueyo had no mercy. Raising the sharp claws in his hand, he fiercely scratched the throat of the shadow wolf leader. Poochie! The soft throat was instantly cut by the sharp nails, and a large amount of blood spurted out. As for Shueyo, it seems that he is not shy about the blood of the shadow wolf leader. He even feels a little excited when he looks at the blood on his nails. It seems that there is something in the blood of the shadow wolf leader that interests Shueyo. The blood sprayed on Shueyu's colorful feathered clothes and slid down the clothes directly without sticking to them. This scene was naturally seen by Yi Ling. At this time, Yi Ling remembered the things about zombies in his previous life. Zombies are very sensitive to blood, and they can even become stronger by sucking blood. After Yi Ling came here, he did not let Shueyu suck blood. It's not that Shueyu doesn't suck blood, but because she is Yi Ling's pet and will follow all of Yi Ling's instructions. If Yi Ling didn't give such an order, Shueyu would not go doing such unnecessary things. Although he was very eager for blood, Shueyu seemed to have a stronger endurance. Even when facing blood, he could remain motionless. If you want to suck it, then suck it. Looking at Shueyu, who seemed very excited, Yi Ling said indifferently. After receiving the order, a flash of blood flashed in Shueyu's pale eyes. Shueyu opened her little mouth and sucked gently the blood, and the body of the shadow demon wolf leader seemed to be attracted by something. Slowly entered Shueyu's mouth. As the blood entered the body, a trace of intelligence flashed in Shueyu's eyes. Obviously, she was very happy to be able to suck blood. Episode 48. While Shueyu was sucking blood, Yi Ling quietly started his own post-processing work. So many shadow demon wolves were enough for him to deal with for a while. He began to deal with the corpses of these shadow demon wolves. As for whether there were any living shadow demon wolves among them, Yi Ling was not worried at all. If there were still living ones, Shueyu, who was very sensitive to the smell, would not be able to detect them. After a long period of collecting spoils, Yi Ling finally dealt with all the shadow demon wolves. The harvest was indeed very much. In addition to some evolution materials that he could not use for the time being, Yi Ling also obtained the materials he needed. As expected, the heart of the Shadow Demon Wolf leader was indeed the dark heart needed for Shueyo's evolution. And so many Shadow Demon Wolves also provided more than 10 drops of Dark Essence blood. This means that the evolution materials for the next stage of Shueyo are now ready. Now the only thing to wait for is the growth rate. As long as the growth rate reaches 100%, Shueyo can proceed to the next stage of evolution. After looking at Shueyo's current growth rate, Yi Ling showed a bitter smile on his face. The growth rate is only 512% so far, compared with the previous one. It has increased a little, but it is still too little. However, this is reasonable. If the growth rate is so easy to increase, many spirit masters will not let their spirit pets get stuck in the evolution place. Materials may be easier to obtain in the early stage, but this growth rate can only be accumulated slowly over time. Of course, the more battles you fight, the more growth you will naturally have. Fortunately, Yi Ling has a system that can check Shueyo's growth rate at any time and see the materials needed for evolution. Because of this, it can be said that many detours can be avoided. When Yi Ling was dealing with the corpses of these Shadow Demon Wolves, Shueyo had already sucked all the blood. Quietly standing aside, waiting for Yi Ling's instructions. Compared to before, Shueyo, who had absorbed a lot of blood, seemed to have a stronger blood energy. Of course, if you don't observe carefully, you may not be able to see it. At this time, outside the secret realm, the scene was silent. At this moment, everything was silent. Although the secret realm was too dark, the battle scene presented on the screen was still presented to everyone. Even at the beginning, some people thought that Yi Ling would definitely choose to give up. Because so many Shadow Demon Wolves, even for genius students, they might not be able to stop them. After all, there was only one spirit pet, facing more than 20 Shadow Demon Wolves, especially one of them was a Shadow Demon Wolf leader. Such an outcome was basically no doubt. However, the strength shown by Shueyo in Yi Ling's hand completely blinded their eyes. One man guards the pass, and 10,000 men cannot open it. With the power of a spirit pet, he resisted so many Shadow Demon Wolves. Not only that, he finally defeated all the Shadow Demon Wolves, including a Shadow Demon Wolf leader. This may be a little scary if you say it out. Even teachers like them, when they were conducting the assessment of the Imperial Spirit Academy, they did not dare to say that they did better than this. With such strength, it is almost certain that there is no big problem in entering the top Imperial Spirit Academy. This Yi Ling is something. Hu Ling stroked her hair gently. She now has a very strong interest in Yi Ling. As for why she knew his name, it was naturally from the information on Shang Lingkong's microcomputer. If the assessment is only counted according to the first stage, in Hu Ling's opinion, Yi Ling is basically the well-deserved first place. This strength is indeed a little terrifying. Similar to Hu Ling, representatives of the other 3 Imperial Spirit Academy are also very interested in Yi Ling. Even Hong Xiu, the representative of the Suzaku Imperial Spirit Academy, which does not recruit boys, is the same. What I care about more now is his spirit pet, which is very powerful. Before, Lu Feng was basically observing Yi Ling's spirit pet Shueyo. After this battle, Lu Feng became more curious. Fortunately, Lu Feng did not see the scene of Shueyo sucking blood. Otherwise, he would be even more shocked. Bai Tong also agreed with Lu Feng's words. Yes, his spirit pet is very powerful, and didn't you notice? His spirit pet seems to have a certain degree of toxicity. The Shadow Demon Wolves that were attacked first just now actually went crazy in the end and took the initiative to attack their companions. Obviously, these Shadow Demon Wolves must have been stimulated by something to become so crazy. The biggest possibility is that this spirit pet has some kind of poison in its body. Bai Tong's analysis is very logical. The other 3 also nodded. Although I am a little interested in him, alas. But it's a pity that he is a boy and can't enter our Suzaku Yulingshi Academy. When this issue was mentioned, Hong Xiu sighed deeply. Hong Xiu was also helpless about this rule of the Suzaku Yulingshi Academy. But the rules are the rules, and no one is allowed to break them. Episode 49. Such an excellent student can only watch helplessly as you 3 families divide him up, and I can only do nothing but watch. It hurts to think about it. Hong Xiu said with a slightly helpless look on her face. Hearing this, Hu Ling replied with a smile on her face. Haha. Sister Hong Xiu, you can't blame us for this, it's the rule of your own school, you don't want it. It's also fortunate that Yi Ling is a man. If he was a woman, there would probably be one more family competing for Yi Ling. Alas. What else can Hong Xiu say but sigh deeply? In addition to the representatives of the 4 top Yulingshi academies, other Yulingshi academies naturally noticed Yi Ling. They could only smile bitterly in their hearts, because such a genius was destined to be out of their reach. The higher the level of the Yulingshi Academy, the better the treatment given. Not only that, the teaching staff is also stronger. This is something that these Yilingshi academies can't compare to at all. In comparison, it is basically possible to guess what others will choose. Unless Yiling cannot even make it into the top 10 in the next second assessment. Only in this case, their Yiling Academy will have a chance. Because the 4 top Yiling Academy basically will not consider students after the top 10. This time they just thought about it casually. If Yiling's strength cannot even make it into the top 10, it would be really weird. On the other hand, Shang Lingkong, who was sitting at the front, looked at the information in his hand from time to time. It can be said that Yiling's past experience was clearly seen. No abnormal situation was found all the time. This also made Shang Lingkong feel a little relieved that Yiling was indeed himself. As for why the zombie pet in Yiling's hands suddenly became so powerful, Shang Lingkong guessed that perhaps Yiling's zombie pet was different from ordinary zombie pets. Shang Lingkong knew exactly what ordinary zombies were like. However, Yiling's zombie is obviously completely different from ordinary zombies. Ordinary zombie pets, in addition to having stronger defense and power, move very slowly. And they need to jump on their feet to move, not walk on their feet. But Yiling's zombie pet is extremely flexible. It is very agile, and it doesn't need to jump at all. Obviously, this is not an ordinary zombie pet. Shang Lingkong has reason to suspect that Yiling's zombie pet may have undergone some abnormal changes. Or maybe, it is just different from ordinary zombies, and is a kind of zombie-like pet. As for the issue of zombie evolution, Shang Lingkong has never considered it. You know, since the emergence of the Yiling Envoy, no one has been able to successfully evolve zombie pets. Shang Lingkong could never believe that Yiling, an ordinary student, could do this. If Yiling really did this, it can be said that he has set a precedent. That would be a matter of history. Shang Lingkong didn't think Yiling could do it. Mainly because it was too unbelievable. You know, the Federation may have many researchers who specialize in studying these evolutionary methods. How could a young man easily do it after so many years and so many people's efforts? Zombie spirit pets, there were people who specialized in research before, but they never got any results. In the end, nothing was done and all were abandoned. Shang Lingkong decided to have a good chat with Yiling after he came out. See what the spirit pet in Yiling's hand was. Answer the doubts in his heart. Back to the secret realm, the cave halfway up the mountain with a very strong smell of blood. Yiling now had to leave this base and leave here. The smell of blood was really too strong, and it wouldn't be long before there would be a large number of monsters. For his own safety, Yiling could only choose to leave such a very comfortable place. At this time, the clouds in the sky dispersed, and the cold moonlight once again spread in the secret realm. And Yiling, with Shueyo, set out on the road to find a new residence. As for where the new residence is, Yiling has not thought about it yet. This time, Yiling has had experience once, and will pay special attention. Try not to lead the monsters to the place where he will find a living place later. At the same time as Yiling's new living place, many monsters in the forest are gradually approaching Yiling's previous base on the top of the mountain. Various carnivorous monsters approached the mountainside. The large amount of blood smell made them lose themselves. When they reached the mountainside, they knew it turned out that there were a lot of corpses of shadow wolves here. Except for a few monsters, most monsters disdained to eat the corpses left behind. Therefore, monsters of different races looked at other monsters closest to them. In the forest, they were prey to each other. Now, just because of the smell of blood, they gathered together. How could they let their enemies go? Roar! A large number of monsters entangled together and started fighting each other. Episode 50. Many monsters around this mountain were attracted here. This also indirectly reduced the pressure on the students who were originally around Yiling. Many vicious monsters left. If they still couldn't make it through the first night, it could only be because they were too weak or had bad luck. Yiling left the cave and walked with Shueyu in the moonlight. Fortunately, many monsters were attracted, and Yiling encountered many monsters blocking him. Even if there were, they were basically easily solved by Shueyu. After searching for a long time, Yiling didn't find the place he liked. Compared with the previous cave, the places he found later were not particularly safe. In the end, he couldn't find a suitable place, so Yiling could only make do with it. He found a place at random and prepared to spend the first night. In the second half of the night, it can be said that it was calm. Basically, no monsters came to disturb Yiling's rest time. On the other hand, compared to the carefree Yiling, Lu Wu, who regarded him as his mortal enemy, encountered a big trouble. In the dark forest, a tall figure was seen moving quickly and awkwardly. And this figure was Lu Wu's poisonous scale python. Lu Wu, who was sitting on the poisonous scale python, was covering his left arm at this time. Bright red blood flowed down his fingers. Before, Lu Wu, who had been rushing for a long time, was very tired. Therefore, he fell asleep under the siege of the poisonous scale python. As a result, before he slept for long, sharp feathers suddenly shot out from the dark sky. Although the poisonous scale python was very alert, it woke up immediately. Relying on its very thick scales, it blocked most of the feathers. But unfortunately, the poisonous scale python did not block all the feathers. After all, it was a hasty response, and being able to block most of the feathers was already very good. Some of the remaining feathers were shot on the ground, and some were shot on the tree trunk. Lu Wu also did not escape this attack, but he was lucky that only the sharp feathers cut his left arm. Such an injury did not directly kill him. The wound was deep, and the flesh inside was rolling outward. The sudden pain woke Lu Wu up instantly. Feeling the severe pain on his left arm, Lu Wu didn't need to guess, knowing that he must have been attacked by a monster. The feathers blocked by the poisonous scale python fell in front of Lu Wu. The moment he saw the feathers, Lu Wu already knew that the monster that attacked him came from the sky. Although he didn't know what kind of monster it was, the monster in the sky posed a huge threat to Lu Wu. But when he looked up at the sky, he suddenly found that the sky was so dark. With human eyes, it is impossible to see clearly what is there. Enduring the pain in his arm, Lu Wu made a very decisive decision. Poisonous scale python. Run. Riding on the poisonous scale python without hesitation, Lu Wu prepared to escape first. The poisonous scale python, which received the order, twisted its body quickly and moved forward at an extremely fast speed. The long body shuttled back and forth in the dense forest. Hopefully, relying on the cover of the dense forest, it can block the monsters from the sky that are spying on it. However, although the poisonous scale python moved very fast, it was far from enough to escape the prying from the sky. In the sky, a pair of sharp eyes never left the poisonous scale python and Lu Wu. After all, the body of the poisonous scale python is too huge, perhaps because it usually eats too well. In this case, the poisonous scale python is simply a living target. The owner of the pair of sharp eyes in the sky was a raptor monster that was even bigger than the steel-winged bird that Yi Ling had encountered before. Black-feathered eagle, this is the name of the monster. The wingspan is about 4 meters long, the mouth is a sharp-hooked beak, and the 2 dark brown claws flashed cold light under the moonlight. If those sharp claws were to grab a person, they would not be able to withstand it at all. With extremely sharp vision, once being targeted by this kind of monster, it is basically difficult to escape. For Lu Wu and the poisonous scale python who were running forward, the black-feathered eagle did not attack them immediately. Instead, it slowly followed behind and kept a certain distance from the poisonous scale python. Just like a cat catching a mouse, it has to play with the mouse slowly, and finally catch the mouse after playing enough. At this time, the black-feathered eagle is in this state. Lu Wu, who was riding the poisonous scale python and shuttled quickly in the forest, had a somewhat pale. There was no way, at this moment, Lu Wu didn't even have time to treat his wound. Because the wound was too deep, blood kept flowing. Hurry up. Run faster. Turning back from time to time and looking up at the sky, Lu Wu's chilling feeling never disappeared. Obviously, the monster in the sky was still following him. Damn it. Bastard. Why are you staring at me? Lu Wu cursed while running away. Episode 51. He never thought that he would be targeted by monsters while he was resting. If it weren't for the existence of the poisonous scale python, he might have died now. The poisonous scale python itself is extremely threatening, so the monsters around it dare not approach easily. But the monster in the sky dared to attack him actively. Either its strength must be above the poisonous scale python, or it is the natural enemy of snakes. You know, there are many natural enemies of snakes. Especially the monsters from the sky, many of them are more restrained against snakes. Although the poisonous scale python is a python and has a larger body, it is still a kind of snake after all. Facing the natural enemy of snakes, even the poisonous scale python is very restrained. At this time, Lu Wu didn't know that in the direction where the poisonous scale python was moving, he would meet a person he had been thinking about day and night. Back to Yi Ling, who was looking for a new residence, finally found a new residence, a tree hole. In this secret realm, there are many towering trees, some of which are very huge. Some big trees have tree holes on them. Although it is not the safest compared to the previous cave, the tree hole is not bad. At least, it can block the sight of many monsters. The tree hole of this tree is very large. After confirming again and again that the surroundings are safe, Yi Ling walked into the tree hole. As for Shuiyu, he naturally had to follow Yi Ling. This is in the secret realm. If you are not careful, you may die. Even if you don't die, you will be eliminated with a little luck. Therefore, you need to be vigilant at all times and at least don't give monsters a chance. Yiling has no chance of failure. Once you fail in the secret realm, it means that you will be eliminated and there is no way to enter the Yiling Envoy Academy. I have worked so hard for so long just to get more resources and make myself stronger. Failure is not what Yiling wants. Therefore, Yiling will not leave Xueyu for a step in the secret realm. Only by Xueyu is the safest. Moreover, the most dangerous thing may not necessarily be a monster, but maybe a human. Some students, in order to reduce the pressure of encountering powerful enemies in the second stage, may do something extraordinary. There are no rules in the secret realm. In other words, such behavior is also tacitly permitted. Here, not only do we have to face the threat from monsters, but also the threat from people. After finding a comfortable position, Yiling closed his eyes. He was basically busy in the first half of the night. If he didn't rest well in the second half of the night, he would be exhausted during the day. In a short while, Yiling fell asleep. As for Xueyu, he was very loyal in fulfilling his duty of protection. Because he had unlimited physical strength, Xueyu didn't need to rest at all. Standing quietly at the entrance of the tree hole, sensing everything around him. Time passed gradually, and the night in the sky gradually faded. The secret realm gradually regained light. And the monsters that originally liked to act in the dark have quietly hidden themselves at this time, waiting for the next night to fall. However, don't think that the crisis is over. Although the sky has dawned, the secret realm is still full of dangers. The weather at this time is still very strange. In the early morning, a lot of fog appeared in the entire secret realm. Although it feels much better than at night, it is difficult to tell any direction in the fog. If you get lost in it accidentally, you may encounter terrible monsters. The person who designed the secret realm is indeed very powerful. All kinds of weather will be taken into consideration. It is precisely because of this that the difficulty of the first test seems to be average, but in fact it is definitely not small. In this thick fog, the visibility is even less than 10 meters. In this case, the best thing to do is to stay where you are. Monsters can find prey with their excellent sense of smell, but humans cannot find monsters with their perception. As soon as the sun rose, Yiling woke up. How can you sleep well in such a wilderness? It's just a matter of making do for now. At this moment, Xueyu suddenly stood by the tree hole with a vigilant look on his face. Xueyu couldn't make such a move when there was no danger. Obviously, something was approaching them. Yiling, who was still a little drowsy, suddenly woke up. Now was not the time to sleep. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After a while, a sound came, and Yiling heard it very clearly. Listening to this sound, it sounded like some kind of snake monster rubbing against the ground and grass on the ground. Yiling quickly came to the tree hole and looked out with his body sideways. However, he saw nothing. This was not Yiling's fault. After all, there was a thick fog outside and visibility was too low. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. However, the sliding sound was getting closer and closer to him. Soon, a huge head appeared in Yiling's sight. This was the head of a python, with tongue spitting out of its mouth. On the back of the python, there was a pale man sitting. Lu Wu? Why did this guy get here? Episode 52. How could Yiling not know Lu Wu? It was strange that this annoying guy would come to his side. Moreover, looking at Lu Wu's pale face and bloodshot eyes at this time, it can be seen that Lu Wu is in a very bad state now. Seeing his hurried appearance, it seems that he is being chased by something. Lu Wu, who had been running away for a night, was a little relieved when he saw the thick fog in the morning. He thought that if he couldn't see the fog clearly, then the monsters in the sky should not be seen clearly. But it was obvious that Lu Wu guessed wrong. Otherwise, he wouldn't be running away in a panic. The black-feathered eagle that had been chasing Lu Wu and the poisonous scale python, with a pair of sharp eyes, could not completely see through the fog, but could still see part of the outline. And as long as he could see the outline of the poisonous scale python, it was enough. The black-feathered eagle had been in the sky, following slowly. This guy, it seems that he is being chased by some monster. There is no monster on the ground. Could it be from the sky? Yiling couldn't help but secretly speculate, what kind of monster was chasing Lu Wu? That's why he ended up in such an embarrassing situation. You know, although Lu Wu is not the most powerful among the students, he is at least a level 5 spirit master. In addition to his poisonous scale python, ordinary level 1 monsters really can't do anything to him. But now Lu Wu is running like a mouse, you can imagine. The monster chasing him must be at least level 8 of the first level, or it is the natural enemy of Lu Wu's spirit pet. If it can't be found on the ground, then it can only be in the sky. Cry. A cry came from the sky. The loud sound shocked the sky and stopped the clouds. Just by hearing this sound, Yi Ling was basically sure that this was the monster chasing Lu Wu. Whoosh whoosh. Gusts of wind came. The thick fog was suddenly blown away by the strong wind. The already exhausted poisonous scale python was exposed. Since the second half of the night, the poisonous scale python has been running away without stopping. After a long journey, it finally came here, and it had to take care of Lu Wu who was riding on it so that he would not fall down. The poisonous scale python was indeed exhausted. It collapsed to the ground with some weakness, and the poisonous scale python did not move, and kept spitting out its tongue. As the poisonous scale python collapsed to the ground, Lu Wu naturally rolled to the ground. Ah! Touching the wound on his left arm, Lu Wu's veins popped up on his head, and he couldn't help but screaming in pain. The severe pain made the tiredness in his brain disappear completely. After running all night, Lu Wu was almost on the verge of a mental breakdown. His eyes were red, and a lot of bloodshot filled his eyes. If someone didn't know, they would think it was possessed by an evil spirit. Asshole! Get up! Keep running! Get up quickly! Covering his wound and coming to the poisonous scale python, Lu Wu roared with a ferocious face. After a hard night, Lu Wu didn't want to give up. Kicking the poisonous scale python one by one, Lu Wu was full of unwillingness. He was not weak in any way, although he was not as good as the geniuses of other families, he was at least better than the people in his class. His father usually put a lot of pressure on him, which made Lu Wu's heart twisted. In order to become stronger, Lu Wu would do anything. He wanted to surpass his father and let his father see how strong his son was. But the dream had not started yet, and now it was about to be broken. How could Lu Wu be willing? Once he failed the assessment at the Yuling Envoy Academy, it meant that he would lose everything in the family. He was the young master of the Lu family. If he failed the Yuling Envoy assessment, he would also lose his identity as the young master. I will become a useless person. This is not what Lu Wu wants. He has many ambitions that have not been realized. He is unwilling to end up here. After being kicked one by one, the poisonous scale python still did not move. Spirit pets are also intelligent. I tried my best to help the master, but was treated like this by my master. The poisonous scale python is now ashamed. It doesn't want to move. Whoever wants to move can move. Cry. A loud cry came from the sky again. Lu Wu, who was still venting his anger, was suddenly startled and looked up at the sky in horror. That dark figure was looking down at him with sharp eyes. Lu Wu was still hesitating whether to press the emergency transmission button in his hand. Once he pressed it, he would be saved, but he would lose the qualification to enter the Imperial Spirit Academy. If he didn't press it, he might be buried here without a trace of his body. At this time, there was a rustling sound next to him. Lu Wu, who was almost in despair, looked over quickly. As a result, he saw a person who made him hate to the core appear in front of him. Episode 53. Lu Wu originally thought that someone would be able to save him. But he did not expect that he would meet the person who bothered him the most, Yi Ling. The glimmer of hope in his heart turned into despair at this moment. When he saw Yi Ling, Lu Wu did not hold out any hope at all. He knew very well that Yi Ling was just a level 1, level 2 waste, and the spirit pet in his hand was still a zombie. Even his own poisonous scale python was no match for the black-feathered eagle. Yi Ling was even less likely to be counted on. Humph. It's my bad luck, I didn't expect to meet the black-feathered eagle. With only the exhausted poisonous scale python in his hand, Lu Wu had no chance of winning. He knew that he had no chance of passing the first stage of the assessment. Although he was very unwilling, compared to his own life, he could let go of everything. Lu Wu knew very well that if he failed this assessment, it would mean that he would lose the support of his family. At the same time, from then on, he would have no chance to go to the Imperial Spirit Envoy Academy. Of course, if the family can also provide a lot of resources, Lu Wu is not without a chance to become one. But unfortunately, basically no big family is willing to hand over their family resources to a waste who can't even pass the test. Even if Lu Wu's father is the head of the family, it won't work. Although the head of the family has great power, he can't hand over the family resources to a waste who can't even pass the test. Because there will be other children in the family who need resources. Compared to training a waste, they are more willing to train a capable child. Humph. It's all because of you. I was eliminated, Yi Ling, don't think about it. Lu Wu, who decided to give up the test, said to Yi Ling hatefully. If it weren't for looking for Yi Ling, Lu Wu would not leave the place where he was teleported in. Maybe there wouldn't be so many things behind. As a result, he can only leave the secret realm now. Lu Wu blamed Yi Ling for everything. He believed that it was because of Yi Ling that he fell to this point. Lu Wu pressed his emergency transmission button hard, and disappeared in a flash of light. At the same time, Lu Wu's pet, the poisonous scale python, also disappeared. After all, the spirit master and the pet had signed a contract, and if you want to recall the pet, you only need a thought. Yi Ling was left at the scene, a little confused. Good guy. Why did he say it seemed to be caused by himself? Yi Ling was a little confused. Obviously, he did nothing and hunted monsters in the secret realm, peacefully. How did he suddenly become the scapegoat? However, Yi Ling could not think so much now. Because with Lu Wu's disappearance, the black-feathered eagle in the sky naturally lost its target. And Yi Ling, of course, became its new target. But Yi Ling, who was the target, was not worried at all. Although the black-feathered eagle was very strong, it was still a little worse than Xueyao. Judging from the size of the black-feathered eagle just seen, its strength should be around level 1, level 8. No wonder it was able to chase Lu Wu. The black-feathered eagle itself restrains the poisonous scale python, and with a strength 3 levels higher, Lu Wu has no chance of winning at all. It can only be said that Lu Wu is unlucky. It just happened that he met the natural enemy of the spirit pet. One thing is certain, Lu Wu's career in the Spirit Master Academy has been ruined here. In addition to blaming him for his bad luck, he can only blame himself for his lack of strength. If the poisonous scale python can be stronger, even if it is restrained, it is not without the ability to fight. At least it will not be chased like before. Cry. The black-feathered eagle in the sky made a cry. It can be heard that there is anger in its voice. After walking for a night's rations, it actually ran away in front of me. How can I not be angry? Fortunately, there is another one below that can serve as food. This time, the black-feathered eagle is not going to continue to walk around. It will eat the prey in front of it in one bite. It will never give the other party a chance to escape. At this time, Lu Wu, who was teleported to the school square, covered his wound and looked at the big screen. His bloodshot eyes were full of resentment, but there was a hint of sneer on his face. Because he saw that the black-feathered eagle had set its sights on Yi Ling. Even if Yi Ling didn't die, he couldn't pass the test. Lu Wu hoped that Yi Ling would not press the emergency teleport. In this case, Yi Ling would definitely die. The medical staff next to him came to Lu Wu said beside him. Student, please come with us to treat the wound first. Lu Wu released his bloodshot eyes and fiercely looked at the medical staff. He scolded coldly. No need. I'm here to watch, don't bother me, get out. At this time, Lu Wu no longer cared about his image. He just wanted to see with his own eyes that Yi Ling was either eliminated or killed. After being scolded like this, the two medical staff looked at each other. Others didn't need treatment themselves, so what could they say, and it ended up in vain. Episode 54. The loud scolding from the other side was naturally heard clearly by Shang Lingkong and a group of representatives from the Imperial Spirit Academy. How could Shang Lingkong not have an impression of Lu Wu? After all, he is a member of the Lu family, and he has met him several times before. I thought that these family members would be able to pass the first stage of the assessment. Shang Lingkong never thought that Lu Wu would be eliminated on the second day. Judging from the current situation, Lu Wu may be the first one to be eliminated among all the family members of Tianhui City. Shang Lingkong was somewhat happy when he thought of the constipated expression of Lu Yun, the head of the Lu family. Shang Lingkong originally disliked these families. This should be a family member, but looking at this, it's just like that. Bai Tong glanced at the embarrassed Lu Wu, his expression full of disdain. Family members have a higher starting point if they fail to pass the assessment. You can imagine how embarrassing it would be. Generally speaking, family members who cannot pass the first stage assessment are even worse than trash. So imagine that Lu Wu is basically useless in the future. The incompetent roar is useless standing here is also a disgrace to his family. Hu Ling, who is also a family member, saw Lu Wu's current behavior and felt ashamed for him. Lu Feng and Hong Xiu didn't say much, but it can be seen from their expressions. They also look down on people like Lu Wu. What do you think? Is it possible for Yi Ling to defeat the Black Feather Eagle? I feel that the possibility is not small. Compared with Lu Wu, Hu Ling is more concerned about Yi Ling, who has been targeted by the Black Feather Eagle at this moment. She naturally saw the strength of the Black Feather Eagle at the 8th level of the first stage. It is not at the same level as the Steel Wing Bird that Yi Ling saw before. The Black Feather Eagle itself is more aggressive than the Steel Wing Bird, and the current Black Feather Eagle is at a higher level. Obviously, Yi Ling is facing a huge problem now. Defeat the Black Feather Eagle? Teacher Hua, are you sure you are not joking? Lu Feng looked at Hu Ling in surprise. Even though he was optimistic about Yi Ling, he did not think that Yi Ling could defeat the Black Feather Eagle. Among these students, the strongest one is currently known to be the 8th level of the First Order. And it is a spirit pet that cannot fly. You should know that there is a big gap between spirit pets that can fly and spirit pets that cannot fly. Flying spirit pets naturally have many advantages. That is to say, among the current students, it is not to say that there are no students, but there are only 1 or 2 students who can face the black feather eagle head-on. And Yi Ling is obviously not among the 1 or 2 students that Lu Feng thinks. Teacher Lu, that's not the way to say it. Things haven't come to the end yet, and no one knows what the outcome will be. Compared to Lu Feng, Hong Xiu agreed with Hu Ling's point of view. Hearing this, Lu Feng just smiled and didn't say anything more. Including his own point of view, Yi Ling now has only 2 ways. Either run away, or quit the assessment. As for a head-on confrontation, Lu Feng didn't think Yi Ling would do such a stupid thing. When facing a high-level flying monster, the best way is to use the terrain or some other means to escape. Whether we can or not, it doesn't count. You'll know if you keep watching. I'm getting more and more curious about Yi Ling. Hu Ling was full of interest in Yi Ling. Why would someone who should be the last in the class suddenly make such a big change? As for the previous appearance, it was just Yi Ling's disguise. It was just to reduce the troubles he encountered and study peacefully. Now he is about to enter the Imperial Spirit Academy, so he wants to make a splash. There is such a possibility. No one would have thought that a person who is definitely the last in the class or even the grade would have such a strong strength. And Bai Tong made a suggestion at this time. What's the point of just watching, or let's make a bet? It's mainly because it's a bit boring to just continue watching, so it's better to have some fun. Hearing this, Hong Xiu was slightly interested. Although Hong Xiu had no way to recruit Yi Ling to join the Suzaku Yuling Academy. But this did not prevent Hong Xiu from being curious about this somewhat special student. Okay. No problem, let's talk about it. What's the bet? The teachers of these top Yuling Academy have some resources in their hands. And they also have a lot of federal points as their salary every month. There's no need to get any resources or anything like that, just keep it simple, 50,000 federal points, how about it? Bai Tong did not propose to bet on any resources directly asked for hard currency, federal points. 50,000 federal points, for them in the Holy City, is actually not too much. But if it is in a place like Radiant City, it is really a lot. Agree, I bet 50,000, betting that Yi Ling will win. Hu Ling agreed to this proposal without any hesitation. Okay, but I bet that he will run away with this 50,000. Lu Feng didn't care about this federal point. However, he chose that Yi Ling would not fight head-on, but run away. Episode 55. Although Yi Ling's strength is not yet known, even if he is strong, can he be stronger than the strongest family members? In Lu Feng's opinion, this is obviously impossible. After all, the foundation is there, plus various resources, the gap is obviously a bit large. The gap between them cannot be made up by a little talent. Of course, Lu Feng also knows that it is not absolute. However, compared to that little hope, Lu Feng still thinks that Yi Ling will choose to retreat in order to advance. I agree with Mr. Lu's idea, and I am also afraid that Yi Ling will run away. After thinking seriously, Hong Xiu decisively chose to follow Lu Feng's choice. Now only the last one, Bai Tong, who also proposed this proposal, has not made a bet. The 3 focused their eyes on Bai Tong, as if waiting for his answer. Why are you all looking at me? My choice is different from yours. If I choose Yi Ling, I will be eliminated, and of course I may die. As he said, Bai Tong showed a sly smile. When they heard Bai Tong's betting options, the 3 looked at each other. They were just thinking about whether Yi Ling would run away or fight hard, but they had never thought about whether Yi Ling would be eliminated. Bai Tong, on the other hand, was focusing on Yi Ling's possible final outcome. Obviously, when betting, the other 3 were at a disadvantage. My bet is okay, right? We didn't say a fixed option at the beginning, right? So it's okay for me to choose this way. At this moment, in the eyes of the other 3, Bai Tong was so shameless. Well, I just didn't expect that, Mr. Bai, you would be so insidious. Hu Ling crossed her arms around her chest, with a hint of dissatisfaction on her face. Lu Feng and Hong Xiu were in a similar situation. After all, no one expected that Bai Tong would play like this. Judging from the current situation, Yi Ling basically couldn't run away. Even if running away could avoid it for a while, there was no way to completely get rid of the angry black-feathered eagle. In the end, Yi Ling would face the black-feathered eagle. The strength of the black feather eagle is naturally needless to say. Judging from the current students, there is basically no chance of winning if they fight alone. In other words, no matter what, Bai Tong is basically invincible. Because Yi Ling will inevitably be eliminated or killed. As for killing the black feather eagle, none of them thought about this issue. including Hualing, who is very optimistic about Yi Ling. She doesn't think so. At this time, in the secret realm, Yi Ling, who is vigilantly dealing with the Black Feather Eagle, doesn't know that his next choice has been taken as a bet. Yi Ling is very clear about the current strength of Xueyu. Even a first-level 10th-level monster can be defeated. But facing the monsters in the sky is always Xueyu's shortcoming. And all of Yi Ling's first-level spiritual skills are not particularly useful for this high-level first-level monster. It's okay to deal with the previous steel-winged bird, but it's not realistic to use the same method to deal with the Black Feather Eagle. Even if his spiritual power chain successfully entangled the black-feathered eagle, it would be broken free in the first place. Unless his first-level spiritual power chain was upgraded to the second level. Thinking of this, Yi Ling recalled the free points he still had. Excluding the skills and talents that he had previously added to Xueyu, Yi Ling still had 3 free points left. However, due to his limited spiritual power, Yi Ling had been saving it and was ready to use it when he needed it. Now it seems that if he wants to deal with the black-feathered eagle, he may have to upgrade his spiritual skills. Cry. The black-feathered eagle in the sky once again made a loud cry. It seemed that it was ready to attack Yi Ling. He glanced at Xueyu beside him and saw that Xueyu was also very alert at this time. But when the opponent was a monster in the sky, Xueyu was willing but not strong enough. Yi Ling now only hopes that when Xueyu breaks through to the second level, he will have the talent or skill to fly. Now, he has no other choice. After taking a deep breath, Yi Ling allocated a little of his free points and added it to the spiritual skill of the spiritual chain. The original first-level spiritual chain also changed at this time. Spiritual chain, level 2, it needs to consume 300 spiritual power points after use. It can release a chain composed of spiritual power, which can trap monsters below the second level. Even if it is a second-level monster, it can restrict its actions. The restriction time is related to the monster level. As expected, after the upgrade of the spiritual chain, the spiritual power consumption instantly doubled, from the original 100 to the current 300. With the current spiritual power value that Yi Ling has, it can only be used 3 times. This is only possible when the spiritual power is full. Although the consumption is very large, the effect has become stronger. It is basically impossible for monsters below level 2 to break free from the level 2 spiritual power chain. Of course, there are some exceptions, but obviously, the black-feathered eagle is not an exception. With a level 2 spiritual power chain, Yi Ling is sure to win when facing the black-feathered eagle. Episode 56. After circling in the sky for a few more times, the black feather eagle finally made a move. Diving straight down, the black feather eagle swooped down towards the ground at an extremely fast speed. The closer to the ground, the more Yi Ling could feel the pressure from the black feather eagle. The 2 black wings kept flapping, causing gusts of wind around. Xueyu was not affected much, but Yi Ling had no way to resist. He found a tree and turned his back to it, thus blocking the invasion of the gusts of wind. And Yi Ling's actions naturally could not escape the sharp eyes of the black feather eagle. Goo-goo-goo-goo. The black feather eagle made a low sound. At the same time, the action was not slow at all. He flapped his wings violently, but this time it was not just for flying, but to launch his sharp feathers. Swish. 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 One by one, the black feathers flashing with cold light shot towards the tree where Yi Ling was hiding at lightning speed. Before Yi Ling gave the order, Xueyu took the lead. He took the initiative to block the feathers on their way. Ding ding ding. I saw Xueyu's long nails, like a sword after another, blocking all the flying black feathers. All the feathers, without exception, were blocked, some shot on other tree trunks, and some shot on the ground. The black-feathered eagle flying at low altitude had a hint of surprise in its sharp eyes. It didn't expect that its feathers would be blocked so easily. However, it was just a little surprised. It was true that Xueyu resisted the attack of the black-feathered eagle, but it was not enough to make the black-feathered eagle give up directly. In this secret realm, the black feather eagle, whose strength has reached the 8th level of the First Order, can be regarded as the overlord of the sky in the secret realm. In this secret realm, the black feather eagle has long been accustomed to being domineering, and no other monster can punish it. Therefore, the black feather eagle has a very arrogant temper and thinks that it is the strongest overlord of the sky. Even if there are more powerful monsters on land, they can't do anything to it. Suddenly, a fierce light flashed in the eyes of the black feather eagle, and his eyes became fierce. Cry. Opening its sharp-hooked beak, the black feather eagle made a deafening cry. Invisible sound waves spread towards the position of Xueyu and Yi Ling in front. The surrounding trees shook vigorously in the sound wave. Rustle. The leaves on the trees couldn't stop falling down. Shui Yu, who was standing in front, just frowned and was not affected much by the powerful sound wave attack of the black feather eagle. However, Yi Ling, who was at the back, heard the sound wave clearly. He suddenly felt a splitting headache and couldn't help but open his mouth and scream. Ah! Shui Yu is a zombie, and has a strong immunity to such sound wave attacks. In addition, Shui Yu also has magic damage reduction, intermediate, which can reduce the damage from magic to a certain extent. Sound wave attack is similar to magic attack. Shui Yu's magic damage reduction naturally has a certain resistance. Shui Yu naturally heard Yi Ling shout. A red light flashed in his eyes, and Shui Yu immediately turned into a blood mist, approaching the black feather eagle at a low altitude at a very fast speed. The black feather eagle, which was using sound wave attacks, could not fail to notice the blood mist in front. Its instinct told it that it could not fight head-on and must not be wrapped by the blood mist. With a fierce flap of its wings, the black feather eagle was ready to fly into the sky again and wait for an opportunity. While its wings were trembling, the black feather eagle had to stop its sonic attack. You can't do two things at once, especially since the black feather eagle is a monster. Just when the black feather eagle was about to take off, Yi Ling, who had been hiding behind the tree, would not let it leave so easily. Covering his head, Yi Ling felt a splitting headache. But there was no time to think so much now. The most important thing was to find a way to control the black feather eagle. If it was allowed to take off, it would only be more difficult. Leaving the tree behind, Yi Ling focused his attention on the black feather eagle. He quickly stretched out a hand and aimed it at the black feather eagle, and shouted. Spiritual chain. In the space around the black feather eagle, waves appeared. Blue spiritual power surged in the space. Chi. Then, spiritual power chains made of spiritual power burst out from the waves. The biggest difference between the first-level spiritual power chains and the second-level spiritual power chains is that each chain is thicker. At the same time, the number of chains also increased from 6 to 8. The 8 spiritual chains were encircling the black feather eagle. The sudden change also surprised the black feather eagle. It had never expected that this would happen suddenly. How could so many chains suddenly appear around it? The black feather eagle had a keen intuition facing the spiritual chains that were encircling it. The black feather eagle flapped its wings, trying to break free from the spiritual chains with its own strength. Episode 57. If this was before Yi Ling upgraded his spiritual power chains, Black Feather Eagle might have a chance to break free directly. But unfortunately, Yi Ling's spiritual power chains are now in the second-level state. Even a lower-level second-level monster cannot break free. Not to mention a first-level monster like the Black Feather Eagle. Obviously, the Black Feather Eagle's struggle is in vain. The spiritual power chains on all sides firmly trapped the Black Feather Eagle. No matter how hard the Black Feather Eagle struggled, it could not escape. The range of the Black Feather Eagle's movement became very narrow. In the end, the spiritual power chain seemed to have become a chain cage. And the Black Feather Eagle was like a bird in a cage, losing its freedom. Looking at the Black Feather Eagle that was already under control, Yi Ling finally breathed a sigh of relief. The sonic attack just now caused Yi Ling to feel a little headache now. Yi Ling had not expected that the Black Feather Eagle could master such a skill. The unexpected attack was a big lesson for Yi Ling. When facing an unfamiliar enemy, you should pay attention to your own safety as much as possible. Although the physical fitness of the Spirit Master will be improved to a certain extent as the Spirit Pet becomes stronger and the level is improved. However, compared with the Spirit Pet and the monster, the physical fitness of the Spirit Master is still far behind. Shui Yu, leave it to you. Having controlled the Black Feather Eagle, there is no need to worry about it being able to fly high again. Shui Yu, who received the order, would naturally not miss such a good opportunity. At this time, outside the secret realm, the scene suddenly fell silent. Even Shang Lingkong widened his eyes at this time, his eyes full of disbelief. As for Lu Wu, who came out of the secret realm, his bloodshot eyes were wide open at this time. It felt like seeing a ghost. How is it possible? How could such a thing happen? Lu Wu was a little bit unbelievable, and couldn't believe what he saw. He originally thought that Yi Ling would eventually be eliminated or killed. But what happened now was completely beyond his expectations. Not only was Yi Ling not killed by the Black Feather Eagle, but he controlled the Black Feather Eagle. Moreover, from the look of the Black Feather Eagle, it seemed that he couldn't get away at all. You know, Lu Wu was chased for half the night. In the end, he still couldn't escape. In desperation, he could only choose to give up. However, it was Yi Ling who was obviously the last one in the class. Now he suddenly showed his power and controlled the first-level 8th-level Black Feather Eagle. The situation was completely contrary to what he thought. Lu Wu even wondered if he was dreaming. I'm dreaming. I must be dreaming. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. How can he defeat such a powerful monster with just a last place? Ah. Lu Wu, who couldn't accept this reality, could only roar helplessly. He had already lost some things. What he went out today was the qualification for the assessment of the Imperial Spirit Academy. Tomorrow, he would lose the qualification to be the young master of the Lu family. His face was very hideous, and Lu Wu was full of reluctance, but there was no use. Because this was the reality. Having lost the qualification for the Imperial Spirit Academy examination, Lu Wu was destined to have no chance to enter the Imperial Spirit Academy. It was also destined that Lu Wu had lost his family inheritance. He was a loser. He would lose everything from today. Perhaps it was because of extreme fatigue and extreme anger. Soon, Lu Wu rolled his eyes upwards and fainted directly on the ground. The two medical staff who were originally scolded by him, seeing him fainted, still carried him away very humanely. A character like Lu Wu would not attract the attention of the representatives of the Academy and Shang Lingkong at all. At this time, they were all immersed in shock. They couldn't believe what they saw. Second level spiritual power chain? A teacher from the Yuling Academy sitting in the back row exclaimed. How is it possible? It's only been less than half a year, and he has mastered the second level spiritual power chain. The most important thing is that this student is only at the first level. Even if he is a genius, he is not so strong. Afterwards, a group of Yuling Academy representatives talked about it. They were all shocked by the second level spiritual power chain that Yi Ling was using now. Spirit skills are the skills of Yuling that are taught in the last semester of the third year. The starting point for all students is the same. Because if you want to use spiritual skills, you need to have enough spiritual power. If the spiritual power is not enough to learn spiritual skills, forcing yourself to learn will only backfire. It may even affect your career as a spiritual master. Therefore, all these spiritual skills will not be taught to students until the second half of the last year. Generally speaking, those who can practice spiritual skills to the second level are at least second level spiritual masters. At least in the Federation, no one has ever heard of anyone who can learn second-level spiritual skills when he is at the first level. Now Yi Ling's appearance has broken this inherent law. It can be said that all the college representatives are impressed. But more of them are unbelievable. Episode 58. Because Yi Ling's appearance can be said to have set a precedent. Relying on his first-level strength, he used a second-level spiritual skill. This has never happened before. Haha. This Yi Ling really gave me a big surprise. At that time, Hu Ling didn't care about her ladylike image and laughed. At the same time, Hu Ling had a greater interest in Yi Ling. If before, Hu Ling just thought that Yi Ling was a special genius. Then now, in Hu Ling's opinion, Yi Ling is far from being described as a genius. He is a genius. There is no doubt that Hu Ling won the bet just now. The other three people can be said to have lost completely. Originally, Lu Feng and Hong Xiu thought that they had chosen a conservative approach. Escape first, but they didn't expect that Yi Ling had no intention of escaping at all, and actually turned around and confronted the Black Feather Eagle. And Bai Tong, let alone. He lost completely. You all lost to me, but don't forget, I've kept a record of 50,000 federal points per person. Hu Ling winked playfully, her delicate face full of an irrepressible smile. Although 150,000 federal points are not much for Hu Ling. The reason why Hu Ling was so happy was because she found that Yi Ling had such a genius side. If Yi Ling at the beginning made Hu Ling want to compete. Then now, Hu Ling thinks that she must recruit Yi Ling to the Xuanwu Yuling Academy. Being able to cultivate spiritual skills to the second level at the first level, such a genius will not be let go by any Yuling Academy. Those Yuling Academy of lower level sitting behind them, don't need to consider, they can't compete with them at all. Now, the only thing Hu Ling is worried about is the three representatives from the other three Yuling Academy sitting next to her. At the beginning, Hong Xiu was not taken seriously by Hu Ling. But now it was different, because Hu Ling suddenly found that Hong Xiu also had a great interest in Yi Ling. Although Suzaku Yulingshi Academy clearly stipulated that male students would not be recruited. But the rules were dead, people were alive. Yi Ling was such an outstanding genius that even Hong Xiu wanted to recruit him. But before recruiting Yi Ling, Hong Xiu had to report this matter to the principal. I'm going to the toilet. After saying that, Hong Xiu got up and left. She had to report this matter to the principal immediately. Let the principal decide whether to recruit Yi Ling. After all, Yi Ling was a boy and should not be within the scope of recruitment of Suzaku Yulingshi Academy. But, he was too talented, and when such an outstanding super genius slipped away from her side. Hongxiu couldn't turn a blind eye. Lu Feng and Bai Tong looked at each other and saw what each other was thinking at the same time. They are now eyeing Yiling, and they all want to recruit this genius to their own academy. The strength of the 4 top-level Yuling Academy can be said to be evenly matched. At the annual Yuling Academy Exchange Conference, there are always winners and losers. Basically, no academy can occupy the throne all year round. Therefore, each Yuling Academy is now vigorously recruiting talents. There is no reason for them to let go of a genius like Yiling. Trouble. At this time, the smile on Hualing's face disappeared. Because she knew that it would be much more difficult for her to recruit Yiling now. The other 3 academies also had this idea. At that time, it depends on whether the conditions given by each academy can attract Yiling. No, this matter must be reported to the principal first, and find a way to improve the treatment conditions. After thinking about it secretly, Hualing decided to report this matter first. I'm going to the toilet too. After saying this, Hualing stood up and walked away with an elegant step. As for Lu Feng and Bai Tong, they left one after another. As for the remaining Yilingshi academies, they did not make any moves. Because they all knew very well that a genius like Yiling was the one that the 4 top Yilingshi academies would definitely recruit with all their strength. And they were not qualified to compete with the 4 top Yilingshi academies. They could not offer better conditions than the 4 top Yilingshi academies, so what could they use to compete? Therefore, it was better to have less trouble than more. Yiling, the genius, should be handed over to the 4 top Yilingshi academies, and they could turn to look at other students. Among those present, only Shang Lingkong was filled with joy. Because Yiling was from his Radiant City, is the genius of Radiant City. Yiling, who was still in the secret realm, didn't know that he had been targeted by the 4 top-level spirit control academies at the same time. At that time just now, if he didn't upgrade his spirit chain to level 2, he would be in real trouble. Yiling didn't expect that the skill he just showed would cause such a big uproar in the outside world. At the same time, Shuiyu had successfully wiped out the Black-Feathered Eagle. Episode 59. The Black-Feather Eagle, which was originally high above, could be said to be one of the few powerful monsters in the sky in this secret realm. At this time, it was lying on the ground in a mess. A large amount of blood flowed down the neck of the Black-Feather Eagle. The Black-Feather Eagle, which was bound by the 2nd-level spiritual power chain, did not even last for a minute in the face of Shuiyu's full-strength attack. It was killed just like that. This time, Yiling also gave Shuiyu the authority directly. Let her swallow the blood of the Black-Feather Eagle herself. Therefore, although there is a lot of blood on the ground, more blood has already entered Shuiyu's body. The blood-sucking pet is obviously a pet of the undead. Shang Lingkong, who was outside, saw it clearly. Generally, only pets of the undead will crave blood. Among the undead, not all pets need blood, only some of them do. For example, zombies, bats, etc., these pets need blood. And things like skeletons, ghosts, etc., don't need blood. Blood can help undead pets that need blood to grow to a certain extent. Of course, this depends on the energy contained in the blood. The higher the level of the monster, the more energy it contains in its blood. Therefore, the more growth it can provide. Unfortunately, at least Yiling has been upgrading in the bone mound. All the monsters he encountered are skeletons, so naturally they don't have blood. Therefore, there is no way to get growth through blood. Now in the secret realm, it is a rare opportunity, and Yiling certainly won't miss it. Due to the loss of a lot of blood in the body of the Black-Feathered Eagle looks shriveled, a bit like a mummy. Yiling, who was very good at hands-on work, started to make it himself. He took down all the various materials on the Black-Feathered Eagle one by one. Sure enough, every spirit master can be said to be a corpse-dismembering maniac. After defeating the monster, you still need to find a way to deal with it in order to obtain materials. This is a process that every spirit master will go through. After dealing with the Black-Feathered Eagle, Yiling did not plan to stay here any longer. Originally, this place was just a temporary place to spend the night, and Yiling did not plan to stay here any longer. Moreover, Yiling suddenly figured it out. Why should I find a fixed place? I kept walking in one direction, and wherever I went, I would clear all the monsters along the way. Not only can I get various materials, but I can also improve the level and the growth of Shuiyu. When it comes to night again, just find a suitable place to rest. With my current 2nd-level spiritual power chain and Shuiyu, no monster in the secret realm can threaten me. As long as I don't commit suicide and provoke a lot of monsters without authorization, I can say that I am completely fine. Shuiyu, let's go. As soon as he said it, Yiling put away the evolutionary materials he had packed and walked in a direction. This direction was the same as the direction Yi Ling left last night. If he continued to walk forward, he would only get farther and farther away from the mountain where he first came to the secret realm. A faint light flashed in Shueo's eyes, and he followed slowly. This Yi Ling is not simple, at least he is at level 1 and level 8. Who made this information? Level 1 and level 2? Level 1 and level 2 can hunt level 1 and level 8 monsters? It's really bullshit. Looking at the information on the microcomputer in his hand, Shang Lingkong was so angry. If Yi Ling is really only level 1 and level 2, that would be really weird. At this time, in Tianhui High School, the representatives of the 4 top Imperial Spirit Academies who left one after another were talking to their principals. On the watch on Hongxiu's left hand, a virtual figure appeared, wearing a golden mask, obviously a woman. Principal, I want to tell you something, this is very important. The golden masked woman was a little curious about what happened that made Hongxiu so panicked. She knew Tianhui City, a slightly remote city. Although there are some geniuses, it is still a little worse than other big cities. The thing is, just when we were doing the first stage of the assessment. Next, Hongxiu told Yi Ling's performance in the secret realm. At this time, the principal, who was originally a little curious about what happened, suddenly fell silent. Principal? Principal. After calling twice in a row, the golden-masked woman finally came back to her senses. There was an unconcealable surprise in her eyes. Are you telling the truth? He only has the strength of the first level, but he used the second level spiritual power chain. Hongxiu, are you sure you are right? In order to confirm the truth of the facts, the principal asked again. Hongxiu nodded heavily without hesitation. Yes, principal, everything I said is true, all of this is true. So I want to ask, should our college recruit him? Episode 60. Hearing this question, the principal wearing a golden mask suddenly fell silent again. Although she could not see the change in his expression, Hongxiu knew that her principal must be struggling. At this time, Hongxiu did not dare to interrupt the principal, but chose to wait quietly. After a while, the principal with a golden mask seemed to have finally figured it out. He took a deep breath, stared at Hongxiu with his eyes, and said in a deep voice. Since he is such a genius, then our college can set a precedent. After all, rules are dead, people are alive, and rules are also set by people. But Hongxiu, he must be really that good. I hope you can understand this. After getting the principal's reply, Hongxiu's face flashed a hint of joy. No problem, principal, this is only the first stage of the assessment, and he has already shown his current ability. The second stage of the assessment will be held soon. I think with his strength, he can at least be in the top 3, and the first place is not a big problem. Based on Hongxiu's observation of Yi Ling, it is impossible for Yi Ling to not even be in the top 3 with his strength. Therefore, Hongxiu is very sure that Yi Ling will never let her down. Just as the principal with the golden mask was about to end the communication, Hongxiu asked another question. By the way, principal, how should we give him the treatment? Now the other 3 major Yuling Envoy academies are also eyeing Yi Ling. I think the treatment given by each academy must be not low, so how should we give it? Although the principal has agreed to recruit Yi Ling, there is more than one academy that wants Yi Ling now. The 4 top Yuling Envoy academies now want Yi Ling. Then the competition will be about the treatment given. Yi Ling would go to the academy that offers the best treatment. Therefore, Hongxiu must first understand the bottom line given by the principal. If the Yi Ling you are talking about is really such a genius, then I allow you to increase the best treatment by 10%, not more than 15%. The principal of Suzaku Yulingshi Academy is also very courageous. Even Hongxiu was a little shocked by the direct increase of the best treatment by 15%. You should know that when facing the geniuses of the Holy City, Suzaku Yulingshi Academy has never given such a good treatment. However, it is right to think about it. After all, the talent and ability shown by Yi Ling are unmatched even by the geniuses of the Holy City. With the principal's words, Hongxiu has great confidence that she can recruit Yi Ling to their academy. Moreover, you should know that their Suzaku Yulingshi Academy has never had a boy. The academy is full of girls. I don't know how lucky it is for a boy to enter Suzaku Yulingshi Academy. I think no boy would refuse. After all, there are so many beauties in the academy, and the attraction is huge enough. Thank you, principal. Hongxiu thanked him quickly. Okay, if that's the case, let's do it this way first. I'm waiting for your good news. After that, the principal with a golden mask took the initiative to cut off the communication. With the support of the principal, Hongxiu is now very confident that she can recruit Yi Ling. With a very happy mood, Hongxiu walked back to the stands. The situation of the other 3 Imperial Spirit Academies is similar. Hualing, Baitong and Lu Feng are all contacting their own academy principals, hoping to get some support. Without exception, all the principals agreed. Because there is such a genius in the Federation, no Imperial Spirit Academy does not want to fight for it. At this time, Yi Ling in the Secret Realm had no idea that he had become a hot commodity in the eyes of the 4 top Imperial Spirit Academies. Walking forward, all the monsters encountered were killed by Yi Ling. The blood was naturally devoured by Xueyou, and the evolution materials were of course harvested by Yi Ling. When he was a little tired, he stopped and rested for a while. After resting, he continued to move forward. On the way, Yi Ling once met a student. However, Yi Ling did not pay attention to the other party. As long as the other party did not come and actively provoke him, Yi Ling had no interest in caring about the other party. Time passed very quickly, and the sky gradually darkened. Night is coming. After another day, Yi Ling and Xueyou hunted many monsters along the way. Although Xueyou's level did not increase, his experience value has reached 923%. As long as tomorrow, continue to kill monsters, there is a chance to upgrade to another level. As long as he upgrades one more level, Yi Ling will reach the top of the first level, the 10th level of the first level. It is only one step away from the second level. Perhaps because of the large amount of blood he absorbed and the battle, the growth rate of the blood ghost was increased again, reaching 647%. Although there is still a long way to go before evolution, it is finally a big step forward.